4 years old, I just, the things that I remember are pretty blank. I just don't have a lot of memory. I was being sexually abused by extended family members and didn't tell anybody, and my parents had no idea. Like I said, was to not let anybody know, to not tell anybody, because the idea of people knowing how gross I am, because that's how I feel about myself, was too much to bear. So it was just something that I was able to do to just be this perfect child that everybody just, you know, loved and adored, and my future was bright. And man, you know, when you're trying to maintain perfection, which nobody can do, like it was just a pressure cooker, and the lid blew. I shocked the world when basically I just flipped the world off, ran away, and ended up on the streets. The greatest point of hopelessness for me was probably when I was 17 years old. At this point, I had run away so many times. I found myself in Kansas City, of all places, and it was freezing, and I was homeless. I, you know, couch surfing, parties, wherever I could just find a place to just kind of have some place to be was how I was living my life. And one night there were no parties to be found. There was no couches to sleep on, and I am wandering the streets in the middle of the night and just wondering how I'm going to get through that night. And I knew where a bar was, and I walked over to the bar and stood out in the parking lot at closing time and just literally was hoping to catch somebody's eye that would just take me in, that I did not have to literally sleep in a 22-degree night on the streets. And it was one of those times where I just was so humiliated, terrified, hungry, freezing, afraid, and I'm just standing there, and all of these men just keep walking by. Nobody noticed a nearly naked 17-year-old standing in the middle of a parking lot in a bar at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And so when the last car left, I just remembered thinking, if they don't even want me for free, then what do I even have to offer this world anymore? I ended up pregnant with my first son at 18, and the hope of this new life that I was carrying actually gave me the opportunity to have the vision for a new life for myself. And I was a terrible, naive young mom, but I knew that my life had a purpose at that point. I fell on my knees and knew that what my life had been in the past was not the life that I wanted to live anymore, and asked for God's forgiveness and God's grace, and it was a gift that was given. So that's where I got my hope. And the only thing I had left were my parents. I had been gone. Man, when I think about how long they waited for me and prayed for me and wondered where I was, you know, leaving home at 14 and then coming back and saying, hey, can you take me and my 2 boys in? You know, they just welcomed us in with open arms. Again, it wasn't easy for me to believe that I am a child of God, that I am beautiful in His eyes, that I am innocent and pure in His eyes. It took a long time, but that's when everything changed for me. It just like a light bulb went off, and it was just like, your life is to be a light of hope to people. You're not going to hide anything. Power over predators, like I said, is just my story, and it was the way that I wanted to reach kids. And we lovingly call it POP. So POP is a curriculum that any school can use. Private schools, public schools, it helps them meet all sorts of requirements: bullying, trafficking awareness, abuse prevention. It covers all sorts of different things. And I had a moment of just clarity where I just started writing my story through the eyes of a horse. And I wrote a story called Freedom's Rider, where I'm Freedom, that was my name, but I left Rider. And so the story is just a journey of me running and falling down at the ends of the earth where nobody could find me, but Rider having followed me the entire time until I was ready to hear his voice, until I was ready to let him back into my life 100%. I think it's pretty relatable to a lot of people where we're at, where how important our name is and how important our identity is and how important it is to believe what God says about who we are as His children and how much He loves us, and that we can't run far enough away from Him. I am Lisa, and I am scarred beautiful.